On behalf of everyone at WNET, congratulations to Steve Adubato and the Caucus Educational Corporation on 25 great years of broadcasting.
Hi, I'm Gene Cornacchia. At St. Peter's College, we believe all citizens need to be informed about the important issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Medical Center, Berkeley College, TD Bank, Qualcare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents, the law firm of Gibbons PC, and by Verizon Communications.
This is One-on-One.
That's good acting, man.
I get that a lot. I go to Atlantic City all the time, like, are you the guy? I go, no, I'm not.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
They thought that I wouldn't survive it, but I knew I would.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We are coming to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. You caught me talking to our guest off camera, but now you can catch him right now. He's Jeffrey Richards, Broadway producer. He's heading up the revival of Glengarry Glen Ross, starring Al Pacino, and also Bobby Cannavale, who you can check out in Boardwalk Empire. But this is going to be terrific. It's opening up at the Schoenfeld Theater?
We're in previews now in November. We open on Sunday, November 11th, and it's a great privilege to be working with Al Pacino. I think he's one of our great stage actors. He has always come back to the stage. He started on the stage in the 60s in a play called The Indian Wants the Bronx. He won Tony Awards for the basic training of Pavlo Hummel and Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie? And of course, he's done American Buffalo on stage. He did The Merchant of Venice a couple of years ago, which I was fortunate enough to produce. But he's one of those rare artists who comes back to Broadway and who does theater in New York. And theater is a richer place for it.
Enough about Pacino. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
You've got some background. You got some background. You started out as a press agent.
Started out as a press agent in the 70s, and my first major show doing that was The Pajama Game, and about 30 years later plus, I produced it with the Roundabout Theater with Harry Connick and Kelly O'Hara.
But back up. Before you were a press agent in the 70s,
right,
you actually hung around on Broadway at a younger age.
Absolutely.
Your mom, Helen, was
She was a press agent and then a manager, so I was able to see a lot of theater when I was growing up. And one of the plays that I saw when I was growing up was, made an indelible impression on me, was Gore Vidal's The Best Man. And I presented it twice on Broadway. It was my first Broadway production. And we just did a production with the great Angela Lansbury and James Earl Jones this past year, which was very rewarding to do again during an election year.
Is that what we're looking at right now?
That's what you're looking at right now. Eric McCormick and John LaRoquette and Candice Bergen. It was a fantastic cast. It was my second time to work with Angela Lansbury.
So let me ask you this, Jeffrey. You make the transition from being a press agent to being a Broadway producer. Did you always know that that's what you wanted to do?
No, I fell into it by accident.
How?
I saw a little play in London that I fell in love with called The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged, and I recommended it to some producers in New York, and they weren't interested in doing it. And I went down to, it was then playing down at the McCarter Theater. I had seen it originally in London, and I went down.
McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey.
Princeton, New Jersey.
Okay. We're from Jersey, so we have to plug Jersey every time
Absolutely.
we get
Well,
a chance to.
Really, I brought down 3 people, an agent and a producer, and 2 producers actually, and they both said that they were too busy with other projects, who weren't interested. And the agent, a gentleman named William Craver, said, "I'm going to sign the writers." And and I said, "I wish I brought more people down here to see it." And they said, "Well, you love it so much, why don't you do it?" So I pursued securing the rights for a year, and it was my first production back in 1995, but it was off Broadway.
Did you fall in love with the role of being a producer?
Well, I enjoy it. I also fell in love a little bit with being a publicist, and So I like them both. So it's a nice combination because I still do promotion.
But describe for people, because they hear the word producer and they don't know what it, sometimes it's hard to know what that means. What does it mean?
I don't think there's necessarily an easy answer, so I'll say from my point of view, I mean, everybody might approach it differently. You identify a project and you try and put the creative elements together in the project, and then you pray that it's all going to work out.
Let's take a step back. Porgy and Bess. We're going to show some video as we talk about
Right.
it. How do you make that happen?
Well, Porgy and Bess, actually, I produced a show called August Osage County, and we were starting our national tour in San Francisco, and this was the Pulitzer Prize winning play by Tracy Letts. Time out for a press plug. Tracy Letts just got the most extraordinary reviews doing the role of George in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which got wonderful reviews. It's currently on Broadway at the Booth Theater. Anyway, I was in San Francisco.
By the way, look how you just morphed from one role to the other. It's just, it's seamless.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm just,
so
I marvel at that.
I was in San Francisco, and at the time, and I had spoken to the director of Hair, and I told Diane Paulus, I don't give you opening night gifts per se, I give you another project. And I gave her a play, and she said she wasn't interested in doing a play, she wanted to do a musical. So I had thought, how does Porgy and Bess appeal to you? And she said, that's a terrific idea. And in San Francisco, at the opening of August Osage County, I met Mike Strunsky, who was Ira Gershwin's nephew, and who runs that side.
Oh, who are we looking at right there? We recognize her.
Oh, Audra McDonald, one of the great artists, and Norm Lewis. They were so brilliant. And we're going to be taking this around the country,
right.
Porgy and Bess. Anyway, so I spoke to Mike Strunsky, and he introduced me to the rest of the Gershwins. We had a meeting up in Boston about 8 months later. And Diane, convinced them that she was the right person and that I was also the right person, but she artistically was the right person. She brought on board the great writer Susan Laurie Parks, the Pulitzer Prize winning playwright of Top Dog, Underdog. And then we did a workshop in New York with Audra McDonald and with Norm Lewis and David Allen Greer. Then we played up at the American Repertory Theater in Boston and came to New York last year and had a triumphantly received engagement.
Talk about your relationship, because you're doing a lot of name dropping, but good name dropping.
Thanks.
Right?
Okay.
Some people do it, and I'm like, why are you doing that? But you're talking about good people and doing good work together. Another name I'm going to drop on your end, David Mamet, the anarchist. Set it up.
David Mamet, this is his new play, The Anarchist. I talk very little about the content of David's plays. David's plays speak for themselves. As a matter of fact, it's unusual, but we never do a talk back for a David Mamet play. David wants the audience to grasp what he's doing and to talk about it among themselves, but have their own, what can I say, ideas about it. And so I kind of don't say too much about a Mamet play. I've done 7 of them. I think I've been fortunate. I think he's one of the great American playwrights. And, he does it all. He's a director. He's directing The Anarchist. He directed the last play did on Broadway, which we introduced, which was A Race. And The Anarchist stars Deborah Winger and Patti LuPone. And I think they're both, Patti LuPone and Deborah are just fantastic. It's going to be an exciting evening of theater. And then, of course, we're doing a revival of Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, let's plug that again. Tell everyone where it is.
Is at the Schoenfeld Theater, The Anarchist is at the Golden, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is at the Booth.
Go back to Glengarry Glen Ross. For those who don't know, I mean, just the movie version is terrific as well.
Can I say something, though?
You can say anything you want.
We have something in the title, because I've done this 3 times in a row, but it's really Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. That is now the official title of the play, much like the Gershwins' Porgy and Bess, much like Gore Vidal's The Best Man. I asked David Mamet if he wanted his name before a play, said no, just by David Mamet is fine.
I love it that you had to put that in there. By the way, for those of you who don't know what the whole premise of Glengarry Glen Ross is, just the little piece of it, the Chicago real estate office. Let's just say that they are a group of all guys.
Correct.
At the time, set in what period of time?
It's set in the 80s.
Let's just say they're fighting over, first place I think is a caddy.
Right.
Second place is steak knives. Third place, you're in trouble.
Oh, the third place should be first place. You get 2 tickets to see Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah. Here's the deal. It is worth going out to see, and it opens up on the 11th of November, and this show will be repeating, so it'll be out there for a while. And I want to thank you for joining us. You're a terrific guest. And,
thank you for having me.
You add a lot to the Lincoln Center studio.
Thank you. It's in my neighborhood. What can I say?
You add a lot to the neighborhood. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Steve.
We'll be right back here from the Tisch WNET studios right after this. Thank you.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
There she is, back by popular demand, Dr. Christina Greer, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Fordham University. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
You have a book coming out. The book is called Black Ethnics, Race, Immigration, and the Pursuit of the American Dream.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute. I'm sitting there going, Christina is writing a book that's somewhat based on lots of experiences you had, but going back to your Tufts experience. Tufts was, it's outside of Boston, right?
In Medford, Massachusetts.
Now, you were there when?
In the late 90s.
As
as an undergraduate student, yes.
You became fascinated by the idea that there were, quote, black subgroups. Break it down.
Okay.
That's the premise of the book.
Right,
no?
yes. That's the premise.
Is that a good setup?
And thinking about how these different subgroups can actually have substantive coalition building, right? With the diversity within this larger African-American group.
Right.
So the way I label these groups, just to make sure there's very little confusion, is that I label them as Black Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, and African Americans. So Black Americans are people whose descendants are sort of from U.S. slavery, you know, Jim Crow, sharecropping, and 9th generation Americans, essentially. Afro-Caribbeans are people whose relatives are from the Caribbean, and African Americans I actually classify as individuals who are from the continent of Africa.
So what happened at Tufts that made it clear that you weren't all...
Well, so we were all, there are sort of 2 things. One was we all went to the Cape sort of before school started, and there's an activity where it stuck in my head for many, many years, and when I got to grad school, it sort of came up again, because you see diversity at Columbia University, you know, taught and attended several universities. So one of the activities was to close your eyes and to raise your hands if your parents told you, when you go to Tufts in Massachusetts, you know, don't get wrapped up, and, you know, be careful when you hang out with the black kids. Which I thought was a very odd question, because this is a group of just black people in a room. And so, of course, I opened up my eyes. I was never good at, you know, 7-Up or any of those games. And almost everyone had their hands raised, which was a little odd to me, because this was the first time that I was ever at an institution with a critical mass of African Americans. So that was the first activity, and we sort of talked about that and fleshed that out, which we'll get to in a second. And then the second activity was I was very involved with the Pan-African Alliance, which in many colleges and universities, especially predominantly white colleges and universities, it's called like the Black Student Union, or the Black Student Association. And so that was a very active and vibrant group, you know, sort of charity trips and working with the Tufts Senate, and, you know, trying to really have substantive conversations about diversity on the campus, not just race, but also class. But while I was there, 2 groups broke off, and so the Caribbean Club was formed, and the African Student Association was formed. But those students also kept allegiance to the Pan-African Alliance.
So you have this in your head, you have it in your heart, you're thinking about it.
Yes.
And you go and you say, I'm going to write a book about what? The subgroups and whether you're really all black?
Right, no, whether or not we can pinpoint what policy issues actually help foster substantive coalition building. And so I came to this conclusion because there's a great book by Marty Gillens, who's a professor at Princeton, called Why Americans Hate Welfare. And it's a book that only looks at white attitudes toward welfare. So in graduate school, you know, I was taking a quantitative methods course, and I replicated his data. That's
the one I took twice at Rutgers? But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I now teach quantitative methods, and I try and make it as interesting as possible. So I wanted to replicate his data, but I was very curious as to why he didn't ask any African Americans in the survey, just because welfare disproportionately affects African Americans. So I replicated his data about whites, but I also added in blacks. But when you're a graduate student and you're playing around with data, the whole point is to add in new variables to see, you know, gun control issues and all these other things. So I added in a parent nativity variable.
Where that came from.
Right, where your parents came from.
That's right.
So what I found was whites whose parents were not born in the United States were more likely to support welfare, and whites whose parents were born in the United States were less likely to support welfare. So basically, immigrant whites supported it, native-born whites didn't. And so when I ran the data for blacks, it was immigrant blacks did not support it, native-born blacks supported it.
But the bigger picture differences that you found are?
Well, on government spending issues. So I basically broke down government spending issues on sort of general issues and racialized issues. And what I found was when there were specific government spending issues on immigration specifically, or issues that dealt specifically with ethnicity, we saw some differences. But for the vast majority of the issues, we saw them break down in sort of blacks versus whites. Statistics work when you actually have interviews that can back up what you found with your numbers, right? So I can say 50% of the people in this interview are women. Well, that's one out of two. So you need some more substance behind these numbers. So when I looked at the numbers, I would then, when and interviewed specific members of Local 371, which is a social services employees union in New York City, because I wanted controls for class. I didn't want doctors and nannies and cab drivers and teachers. I found that the controls for class are great, right, and education, but there is a duality that exists for black ethnic groups in the United States, in the sense that they definitely believe that there is a shared racial identity, because there are many things that happen to black people who are phenotypically black once they're in the United States, right? So keep in mind, black immigrants are coming from black countries, largely with black leadership. So the way they conceptualize race, I mean, there's not to say that there isn't colorism and there are ethnic groups and subgroups and religious groups, but the way the black-white divide, the sort of historical black-white divide that's in America, plays out very differently here.
The book's out?
The book should be out sometime next fall.
Terrific. We're talking about 2013, fall 2013. Also, we'll talk about what happened in the 2012 election. We'll try to make sense of that. Dr. Christina Greer, Assistant Professor of Political Science, Fordham University. The book is called Black Ethnics, Race, Immigration, and the Pursuit of the American Dream. We'll also talk more about how that view of the American dream is evolving. Christina, always a pleasure when we have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good stuff.
Great.
This is One on One. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back right after this.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
That guy's good. He's right here. He's Rob McClure. He's starring in Chaplin, playing at the Ethel Barrymore Theater. He's an actor, and he is terrific. Good to see you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
What is it like to see yourself starring in Chaplin like that?
It's wild. It's wild. It's profoundly moving every night. You know, people come to this show with expectations. You know, they know that silhouette. They know the hat, the cane, and the mustache. And fans or not, you owe it to that man and that legacy to get that right. It's really an honor to take a stab at it 8 shows a week. So
I want you to share with us a little bit. By the way, you're born and raised in New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. Just over the bridge.
We're proud to have you.
Oh, thanks.
As someone who's born and raised in Jersey,
I love it.
We see someone make it on Broadway.
Yeah, I got my start out there at the Paper Mill and
Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn.
Yeah, that's right, in Millburn.
I can't even imagine what it's like to be performing, going from Millburn and northern Jersey to Broadway. But I got to ask you, you were telling me before we got on the air, the research you did to understand Chaplin.
Yeah.
By the way, Chaplin boot camp.
Yes.
Because he's so physical.
Yes.
You had to learn to roller skate, play the violin, and do the last part.
And tightrope walking.
Get out of here!
Yeah, it's
what do you
wild.
mean? You didn't know how to tightrope walk?
I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And believe it or not, playing the violin is ultimately harder than even the tightrope. It's just it's an instrument you can't hide behind. You're dealing with horsehair, you know, any little nerve they can hear. So, but it was you know, if you're playing one of the most famous funny mans of all time, that should be hard. So it is.
We'll talk about hard. Chaplin grows up in a very poor section of London.
South London, yeah.
Right. And you say in 1913 he comes to Hollywood.
Yeah.
7 years later?
He's the most famous man in the world.
Now you said, before we got on the air, that you really wanted to understand that journey and understand so much about who he was, which impacted the way he performed. Tell folks some of the things you were telling me that had to do with his physical persona. Yeah, which was much deeper than what we might have thought.
Yeah, the little tramp character. I desperately wanted to know what was it about that character that was so transcendent that allowed him to become so famous so quickly and so universally. I mean, first of all, they were silent pictures, so they had a universal appeal that is unlike any medium today. You know, we get people at the stage door who are from Eastern Europe and from Japan and from all over the world who tell us you don't realize how much he means to us, because as children growing up, those were the only American movies we could watch because there was no language barrier. And I thought, oh my gosh, of course. So it truly exploded in a universal way that had not been seen before in that medium. And what was it about that character that made people care so much? And I think it was what was underneath the comedy.
So the big pants.
Yeah, big
the
pants,
ill-fitting
big
clothes.
shoes. Yeah, they didn't fit. Not only because it makes a funny silhouette, but because they're not his clothes. He's a homeless nobody living on the street. Pick those clothes out of trash cans. That's why they don't fit. A lot of what goes on underneath that character is from a very sweet, melancholy everyman trying to make it and be taken seriously.
About the hat.
Yeah, he used to tip his hat at people as they would walk past, you know, whether it be the front of the hat or the back of the hat. And we associate that with the comedy and the quirk of that character. But really, the more I watched, the more I realized he was desperately trying to be taken seriously by people. So if he could fool them into thinking he was a dignitary or a wealthy person or someone would take him seriously. And what's so heartbreaking is he was fooling no one but himself. So you would watch this sweet nobody of a man trying to put one over on people into taking him seriously. And I think that's what really drew people to him.
Talk about drawing people to performers. People are drawn to you. Have not seen it, but everything I've heard, and Paul Levine is in my ear right now, is saying, ask Rob about his abandon when he is performing. And that's why I keep hearing that. You just go for it. Well, what does that really mean?
I think there's a sense of play that comes with theater and a sense of make-believe. I mean, really, what I think we're doing is playing make-believe in the same way we did when we were 4 or 5. You just get good enough at it that people want to pay to watch you do it. They start believing you are who you're pretending to be. And I think for those 2.5 hours, I'd like to think I am. And what's great is that in those moments in the show when the magic starts to happen and the mustache goes on and the hat goes on and the cane goes, I feel the audience lean in and give me permission to be Charlie Chaplin for those 2 hours. You know what I mean? And it's a huge gift, and I get all of that affection they have for that man and that character put on me, which is such a great honor.
And it was not easy getting this gig. You had 6 callbacks. You fought for this role. Why?
I did. Well, I loved it. I loved the man. I loved his story. He had a wildly complicated life with ups and downs. And yeah, the audition process was intense. I remember for the final callback, it was 5 o'clock on a Monday, and they said, tomorrow, Tuesday, at 10 a.m., come back and have 2 minutes of a 2-minute Chaplin-y thing ready.
A Chaplin-y thing.
A Chaplin-y thing. I said, I don't even know what that means. So I ran home and I was trying to come up with something, and it was 2:30 in the morning. My wife rolled over in bed and said, well, why don't you bring music so you're not completely hung out to dry with the silence of the room? And I thought, oh, that's good. So I started looking through my phone, and in my classical music playlist, I had Flight of the Bumblebee, and I thought, I'm going to bring that and a fly swatter, and I'll fight an invisible fly and lose. That's it, and I fell asleep. And then the next morning I woke up, I got on the Amtrak train on my way to New York from Boston. I was doing a show in Boston, and I had my headphones and a fly swatter, and I'm sure everyone on the train thought I was out of my mind trying to come up with this bit. And the first time I did it on my feet was in the room for the team, and it went well, I guess. Cause,
you loved it. By the way, you can hear tell we're in Lincoln Center, because you can hear the fire engine.
Yeah.
When you were doing it,
yeah,
and they had to make a decision,
yeah.
how nervous?
Oh, I'm always very, very nervous. Always. And you know, auditioning doesn't get easier. You know, people talk about making it. You know, when I did Avenue Q, I did Avenue Q for 3 years. It was one of the greatest thrills. And they said, well, you made it. Well, whenever that job ends, you got to make it again.
I love it.
You know what I mean? You got to do it again. So there is that sense. Every audition, you got to go in and give it, and hopefully you're the right fit.
It's no different here. Like, we're making it. We're here at Lincoln Center doing this show. I'm like, hey, I hope this show keeps going. That's it. It's like whatever it is you're doing.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And that's also one of the thrilling things about this business is that every show I do, there's a new bag of tricks, and this one especially. You keep adding things to your special skills section of your resume and learning to do crazy puppetry or walking a tightrope or playing the violin, and it allows you to flex different muscles depending on the job.
Do you mind if we plug it again?
I would love to.
By the way, the website is chaplinbroadway.com. You go on the website, you can get tickets there, but also it is the Ethel Barrymore Theater. The play is called?
Chaplin, the musical.
And Rob McClure from northern New Jersey is the star, and we are proud of him. And I got to tell you something. Like I said, I cannot imagine what it's like. To me, like growing up loving the Yankees, it's got to be like playing in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I'm just happy for you. I wish you nothing but the best. Go out and see this young man in a great play. All
Thanks
the best.
so much, Steve.
Great job.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
That's terrific.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Medical Center, Berkeley College, TD Bank, Qualcare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents, the law firm of Gibbons PC, and by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey, and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.
When you suffer from chronic hip pain, you start counting every step. At Virtua, we practice the most minimally invasive total hip replacement techniques, so you can stop counting and get your life back faster. Take the first step. Contact Virtua today at gotmylifeback.org.
I'm Steve Adubato. Join me for the next edition of Caucus New Jersey, Taxes, Healthcare, Education, and the Economy. I'll ask the questions that you want answered.
Airing on NJTV, 13 and WHYY. Check your local listings.